well, yeah, if you're watching and you want to ask a question, you may ask a question, and I'll ask Prince because I'll ask the question for you. But last week we talked about the role of the Hebrew man, and I got a lot of feedback. You know, people wanting to get more of that type of conversation because you know we have a lot of young brothers who we have a lot of young brothers and we have a lot of older men who are still, you know, trying to identify what their role is or get comfortable in the role of just being a man, period, let alone a Hebrew man. And I know we had conversation earlier about, you know, men marrying at any age and not being, you know, prepared fully to, you know, have a wife and to take care of that wife and the children that may come, you know, out of that relationship. So I just wanted to more kind of like talk more on that because it was a lot of people who really, you know, needed or was saying that they really needed that information.
Okay, I didn't really hear a question.
Yeah, I just wanted you to expound more on.
I'm more so hear a statement, so I'll approach it in this manner. If a man has arisen to adulthood, which means he found himself in a very difficult life. He may have children, he may have a family, but yet his wife bosses him around, she has no respect for him, or he just finds himself not being an alpha man in charge of his family.
Mm-hmm.
He may wake up one day and realize that he watches too much television instead of being out in the workforce providing for his family. It might be a man who's a whoremonger, who just runs around and sleep with women and don't take no responsibility. He just enjoys himself just being a whore.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of men like that. Then there's a lot of men who bash women constantly. They're the worst thing in the world. They're just so mean to women unnecessarily.
Right.
My advice to those type of men would be to retrace your life, your history.
Mm-hmm.
Sit back and from time to time take a mental note of your childhood and how you grew up, how the women in your life affected your life.
Mm-hmm.
Think on, as growing up as a child, how you responded to the women in your life. A lot of men move from women to women to women to women, didn't have a mother, a definite mother figure. They had some mothers, which means they had women in their lives who were responsible for different portions, and then next year it's another woman, and then next week it's another woman, or 2 years later it might be a different woman. That causes them to never really to grow up, respecting or earning the trust and love of a woman. And it causes them to retaliate sometimes and despise women. A lot of men grew up disliking their mothers,
Mm-hmm.
wasn't pleased with their mothers for whatever reason it was, which caused them to grow up disliking their mothers. But sisters, I'm going to give it to you honestly because sometimes it's not all the man's fault.
Right.
Sometimes our women have issues and situations, mental situations that needed to be addressed in their lives that they didn't address. So when you got two unstable individuals cohabiting together, they don't know how to produce much of anything. The relationship is mostly out of sequence, it's out of balance, it's a lot of arguing, both people striving for dominance, and no one knows how to obtain it. Neither party knows themselves to the level that they should, where they can have a comfortable relationship.
Mm-hmm. Neither
one knows how to say, I'm sorry, babe, you're right, my apologies, I'll do better. Because it's unmacho of a man. No, it's not. It's about honesty. It's about righteousness. Brothers, if you realize you're off balance, just back off. Take a little mini vacation You don't have to leave. Take a mini vacation from your responsibilities, your duties. Take an hour or two and just meditate on your life and where it's been, and think about the relationships that you had with the women in your life as you was growing up. How that relationship played out, from your mother to your school teacher, to the crossing guard, to the girlfriends you had, all the women that played in your life. Just go down memory lane and watch the cycle and how it went in your life and how you developed to who you are. And sometimes it'll tell you why you are the type of man that you are toward women. Not just toward women. But if we do this, and we do this honestly in life, period, we'll understand why some men, some males, have not reached the maturity of a man. They might be 40 years old, but the maturity level is on a 25 or 26-year-old level, where they still running around sexing women, using women, and never bringing committed to the women or the children that they bring into the world. Because they're not on a man. A man is going to handle his business. You can have a man at the age of 18. He impregnates a woman, he takes care of her, he go out and get a job, and he puts her in a place, puts her up, takes care of her. He may not at that time be able to give her the best of things, but he's giving her what she needs to maintain life, where she's not worried about what I'm going to eat tomorrow. You understand? That's a man, but he's only 18. Then you got men that's 30 and 32 years old. They got 4 or 5 children, and they're not handling their business. Those are not men. Those are males. And it's a difference. My brothers, if this conversation is a little bit rubbing you the wrong way, then maybe you one of those males in a men's body. Or with men's responsibilities, but not handling your responsibility. A lot of men, and then let me go about this way right here, because I'm not about dogging out my brothers. I'm about elevating my brothers so that they can rise, because if they don't rise, we can't rise as a nation. We have to break this cycle. We have to break this curse. We have to rise up. In order for us to serve the Most High like we are required to serve Him, then the men have to take their rightful place. And our rightful place is the head of families being men, and not males, but men. Follow me? So, if you're offended by this, may the Most High give you understanding. But if you're guilty, and oftentimes the truth hurts. The truth hurts, but it only hurts the guilty. And if it affects you to that point, then maybe these things that I'm speaking of today applies in your life. If they do, you got to be honest with yourself. You ain't got to call Prince, hit Prince up. You ain't got to do none of that. You got to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, am I being a man? Am I really living up to the responsibilities that's pleasing to the Creator? You know? Do I earn the right to tell my wife, or to ask of my wife? Don't tell your wife anything. Ask her. Do I earn the right to ask my wife, babe, can I get something to eat this morning? Because I'm a little hungry. You know what I mean? You don't force your woman to do anything, and you'll have a much better life. You can ask or make requests. Don't make your woman feel like a slave, because if you make her feel like a slave, she's going to rebel. And rebellion is not what you want. What you want her to do is work with you on a partnership level. She knows her part, you know your part, and where the authority lies, there's a separation. It's unspoken. You don't even have to get into that conversation, because we know where the authority lies. And as long as you two are able to communicate with that level, where you're not intimidated, where you feel like you're intimidating me, or I have to be macho about it, I have to be man about it, you're going to do what I say do because I'm the man. When you earn that right through your actions, then there's never a question. It's when you're trying to force your way somewhere where you really don't supposed to be because you haven't earned it. Did the child have to grow up and question the mother, why you beat me last night?
No.
Do your pet dog get up off the floor and say, why you only feed me twice a day? I want to eat more often. No. Now, I mean, my wording, my scenarios is a little off, but I'm trying to be real. Neither the man or the woman is a pet or a child. But the point that I'm trying to make is more important, that you have earned that right by providing for that child and that animal their daily needs for life. So is a man. A man's job is to earn his right to provide for his household and cause others to respect him by providing for his household.
Right.
So I hope that kind of like just back off for a little while and think about the cycles of life that you've been through, how you got to the point where you are, some of the things that you could have done differently, or you could have had a different type of relationship with certain women and men in your life to develop you to become a better man or a better woman.
Okay.
You know, and that will help a man to become a man. And brothers, don't never be afraid to fall or to fail, but always be afraid to not try. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
You might come up with a new ideal of providing for your family. Do it! And don't be afraid of failing. But give it all you got to conquer and achieve. But if you fail, that's okay, because if you got a good woman, she's going to be by your side no matter what,
Right.
as long as you're worthy of respect. Now, when you're not worthy of respect, then you're going to have a problem. Why do you think women, especially our women, gravitate so much toward the drug dealer? You know what I mean? Because they live in that I'm going to try this and I'm going to do what I got to do to get it done. They live with that attitude like, I'm going to conquer this, I'm going to fight it. The police coming, I'm going to get around them, I'm going to beat them, I'm going to achieve. That's why women are gravitated. A lot of our women take the street dudes because they live in that type of attitude or that type of environment. Now, I'm not talking about the average street dude. I'm talking about the ones that's out there really doing something. We can take that same energy and bring it into Israel in righteousness. But we got to show women what a man looks like. And we haven't been able to do that, you know, for the most part. A lot of men have. A lot of my brothers, the ones that I really, really are close to, we handle our business like men. And I can call out some names if I need to, but you know. But there's a lot of Israelite men who handle their business as men. They might not be the richest. They might don't drive the fanciest cars, you know. They might don't live in the biggest houses, but they handle their business as men.
Right.
And that's the difference. They earn my respect. Right? So I pray that I've answered that question.
Okay.
Or at least I elaborated a little bit more
Yes.
in trying to bring resolution.
Yes. Well, I do have somebody online has a question.
Yes.
They want to know, I think their name is Tawa Naftali, wants to know, how do I tell a Christian that the New Testament is not the word of the Most High?
Just like you just asked the question. You say the New Testament is not the word of the Most High.
But,
Honestly, my brother, I believe your brother.
yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you're brother or sister, but I think you're brother because of the spelling of your name so far. But if it is, first you have to learn the New Testament. Whoa, what you talking about, Prince? Well, I got to read the New Testament. So how are you going to be prepared for war if you don't know what the war is about?
Right.
You know what I mean? You have to learn the New Testament in order to strategically help people get out of that situation. And if you don't know the New Testament, how are you going to tell them it's no good? So you have to learn it first. Most of us, we come up in it, but we come up in it the average way where people are telling us and we believe in them, as opposed to us researching and looking for ourselves. So I would ask that you research the history of the book first, the making of the book, the information pertaining to the deity of the book, and then the people who wrote the books, their information. Research all that information so that you can learn the history, the information contained in that book, and then you can properly break it down and explain it to them. But let me share something else with you. If you don't have the proper spirit on you, you won't be able to do it. If you don't have the proper spirit on you, you'll never be able to successfully bring anybody out of the New Testament, and you may end up falling for the New Testament. If your spirit isn't strengthened, and one way to get yourself prepared for that battle. I don't know what your journey is. You may have already walked that walk, and I applaud you. If you have, may the Most High be with you. And if you haven't, may the Most High be with you. So what I would suggest you do before you try to reach in to get someone strengthened away from the New Testament is strengthen your own self first. Your spirituality, your spiritual development, become solid in the life that you live first. Learn your Hebrew, and most importantly, understand why it is that you are who you are. I'm a Hebrew Israelite, and I accept that fact, but why? Because a lot of us don't ask ourselves why. A lot of us just go with the flow.
Right.
Oh, I'm Hebrew. Why? Because the slaves was here, they was Hebrew. They don't really understand why you're a Hebrew Israelite. And some people are under the confusion that we can walk away from being a Hebrew. That's how I know you don't know what you're talking about when you say you're Hebrew. Listen, you can get mad at a brother and sister, but you can never lose your identity, your blood lineage, your birthright, who you are in this existence, in this flesh. And not just this flesh, but the spirit or the essence behind the flesh is what makes you Hebrew. The Creator chose this vessel to come through a certain bloodline because within the blood is the spirit contained within this flesh to make you who you are and what you are. Here's something real deep. Let me drop something real deep on you for a minute, just to confirm what I'm saying. I hope y'all listening, because it's going to be a doozy. When the Most High created the flesh, He created a body. And that's what you have. These are bodies. But when you go back to Genesis, the 2nd chapter, I believe it's the 7th verse, that body didn't have life. So this flesh came by way of the earth. Right? But it wasn't until the Most High blew the breath of lives, plural, into that clunk of clay that it became inanimated. It became able to move. It became alive and began to function and do things. You follow me?
Okay.
So when this thing that we call a spirit, when that spirit leaves the body becomes inanimated again. It doesn't move. It's back dead. Life can't die. That's why when this body that was never alive until that spirit came in it and inhabited it, brought it to life. People say we die, we dead, and that's the end of it. The thing that's really alive is not this flesh, though.
Right. It's the soul.
It's the essence within the flesh, the spirit, or the ruach, which they call the soul. Those words are interchangeable. The soul can't die. So when the body gives up the soul goes back to the Father in which it come. So now, how do we get to be Hebrew? What's the connection? The connection is this. That physical man who had life, this man, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and so on, had children. They gave us this, the physical body. But they also gave us our soul, our spiritual essence. That's what makes you Hebrew. You follow me?
Okay.
Your body makes you Hebrew as well after the blood lineage. But that spark of light, that spark of energy that we know to be the soul, cohabited with the physical flesh, makes you what you are. Hebrew. And I hope y'all understand. When people say things about people dying and coming back to life and reincarnation per se. But the soul never dies. So if the soul never dies, then what's the purpose of death? Why are we afraid to die? If you could never really die, why are you afraid to die? So we are who we are because of the essence that the Father's placed in us. The thing that lives within us is a portion of himself on a higher level than mortal man.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he says, ye are gods, or per se, you are Elohim, but you shall die like man.
Mm-hmm.
It says, arise, O Elohim, and judge the earth, for thou shalt inherit all nations.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just a little sidebar conversation, just to give you a little bit of energy and let you know a little bit of something, and give you something to think about. Okay?
Well, Tamaria says, a lot of people say we're not supposed to read their books as a reason to not read the New Testament. The scripture that says not to study their ways. I guess she's.
How would you know their ways if you don't study them?
Mm.
How would you know? How would you know if you're committing evil if you don't know what evil is?
Right.
So I'm gonna tell you this. If the greater part of the lesson that I just shared, you really hear, and that was to learn yourself first, learn who you are,
Mm-hmm.
study what you're into to the utmost. Get your spirit strong enough and mentally strong enough so that when you read this information, you'll understand what it is. It's not everybody's job to reach the other nations and pull them out of their darkness, or to reach our people and pull them out of the darkness. It's not everybody's job. Well, it is everybody's job, but on different levels. In order for you to reach a New Testament dweller and really bring them into this light, you have to understand what you're teaching them.
Okay.
So if you don't understand what you're teaching them, the chances are not impossible, but the chances are slim that you'll be effective.
Okay. She says she totally is in agreement. The brother Taura, he says, his question is, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
His question is, who is the us in Genesis 1:26?
Brother,
Let us make man in our image.
You are getting ready to start something. Let me restart this.